CSI, Survivor Without a Trace. The biggest events, Elvis the miniseries, the Raymond series finale, plus all-out coverage from CBS 4 News, South Florida's #1 choice for news at noon, 5, and 11 p.m.
We'll have the very latest video you'll see only on 4.
All this May, CBS 4 brings you more.
We buy houses. Call 786-326-0909. 786-326-0909. Call 786-326-0909.
And remember, when you see news happening, give us a call.
Our CBS 4 News tip line is 866-658-TIPS.
And that's your 6 o'clock news. Thanks so much for joining us.
We will see you back here at 11 for CBS 4 News tonight. From all of us, thank you for watching. Now we go to the CBS Evening News with Bob Schieffer.
Good night.
Good evening, I'm Bob Schieffer. With gasoline prices near record highs, President Bush urged Saudi Arabia to step up oil production in an effort to get the prices down. That's where we begin tonight. Then we'll have these stories.
New attacks on the Supreme Court. I'm Gloria Borger, and I'll tell you what they're all about.
I'm Barry Peterson in Tokyo, where a morning commute by train suddenly turned deadly. And the search is on tonight for survivors and victims.
The food fight over obesity. I'm Jim Axelrod on whether America really is facing a health crisis.
This is the CBS Evening News with Bob Schieffer.
President Bush invited the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Prince Abdullah, to his Texas ranch today to talk about sky-high gasoline prices and what the Saudis could do about it. The prince agreed that prices were too high, but apparently said there was not much the Saudis could do about it. The Energy Department reported today that we're now paying on average $2.24 for self-serve regular. That's 42 cents more than we were paying last year. The president wants the Saudis to pump more oil, but that alone may not be enough to get pump prices down. Anthony Mason has our report.
As President Bush welcomed the Saudi delegation and led Crown Prince Abdullah by hand to his Texas ranch, he said high oil prices were high on the agenda.
High oil price will damage markets, and he knows that.
The oil markets are watching this meeting closely.
The president is asking the Saudis, hey, I don't know how much excess oil you have, but if you have more, you should be pumping it.
The Saudis claim they do have more, but the U.S. doesn't have the capacity to refine it.
It will not make a difference if Saudi Arabia ships an extra 1 million or 2 million barrels of crude oil to the United States. If you cannot refine it, it will not turn into gasoline, and that will not turn into lower prices.
The Saudis offered to build refineries here, but oil analysts say
building a refinery in the U.S. is almost impossible.
Fidel Gate of Oppenheimer says we've been crippled by our own environmental regulations.
It's a self-inflicted wound. We've been sitting on our hands for the last 30 years. We have not built a refinery in this country.
The Crown Prince dropped by the local gas station coffee shop today, but he didn't fill up. Last year, the Saudis said oil prices should be $22 to $28 a barrel, but crude is now double that.
It is obvious, given the last year and a half, that that price band is unrealistic.
So what is a fair price for oil in a market where China, India, and the U.S. just keep using more and more of it? Well, even the Saudis now admit they're just not sure anymore. Bob?
So, fair price aside, does anybody know whether we're going to be paying more or less for gas?
Well, if we knew, we'd be in the oil futures market, right? What you keep hearing is get used to it. Get used to $2 a gallon gas. With all these pressures we've talked about in the oil market, you're never going to see $1 a gallon gas anymore, Bob.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. James Dobson, who heads this influential group called Focus on the Family, which opposes abortion, stepped up his attack on the federal judiciary and especially the Supreme Court at a huge rally last night. He said, among other things, that the decision legalizing abortion had created history's worst Holocaust. Dobson wants the Senate to outlaw filibusters of judicial nominees so it will be easier to confirm judges with more conservative views. But his hardball tactics are apparently not sitting well with some conservatives in the Senate. Here's Gloria Borger now from Capitol Hill.
The Senate fight over judicial nominations moved onto the pulpit last night as Christian conservatives rallied the faithful to limit the power of federal judges.
We should not have to choose between believing and living by what is in this book and by serving the public, whether it be on the bench as a judge or whether it be in any other elected office.
The real message here, that judges have become too political, legislating from the bench. Some conservatives see the Supreme Court as enemy number one.
They're unelected and unaccountable and arrogant and imperious and determined to redesign the culture according to their own biases.
One of Dobson's main complaints is the 1973 decision legalizing abortion.
That has now resulted in 44 million deaths, the biggest Holocaust in world history that came out of the Supreme Court.
But that type of rhetoric doesn't sit well with all Republicans. In fact, Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist, appearing by videotape at last night's event, went out of his way to temper all the anti-court talk.
That the balance of power among all three branches requires respect, not retaliation. I won't go along with that.
Democrats say that Frist should not have gone at all, even on video. They claim that conservatives are trying to portray Democrats as political heathens.
To rally people suggesting that opponents are against people of faith crosses a line in America that I think is dangerous for everybody.
In fact, some Republicans are worried that all of this could backfire, that voters will see these attacks on judges as going too far.
Gloria, it was my understanding that Senator Frist was going to force this vote sometime soon, perhaps this week, on whether to outlaw the filibusters. Now it seems to me that that schedule is slipping. What do you make of that?
Well, I guess he doesn't have the votes, Bob. I think that he's got a handful of Republicans who are still undecided, a bunch of Republicans who've also said that they're not with him. And as you always say, Bob, when you have the votes, you usually call for one, right?
And this rally last night, you think it really did cause some of these Republicans to have some pause about whether they'd taken this too far?
Yes, I think they were upset about it, particularly because this rally had a crawl underneath it, Bob, which gave their phone numbers out of Republican senators, and Senator Frist appeared at that rally, and they're none too pleased with that.
Okay, thank you very much, Gloria. A packed Japanese commuter train left the rails today and smashed into an apartment building, killing nearly 70 people and injuring more than 400. All this happened during the morning rush hour in a town just west of Osaka. Rescue workers picked through the wreckage all day and into the night. Barry Peterson has the latest.
Through the night, there were amazing miracles as survivors were pulled from tangled steel and busted glass, but many were not so lucky. I lost my wife, said a stunned Hirokazu Kobata. She was my treasure. Authorities suspect the 23-year-old driver with too little experience was going too fast so he would not be late at the next station. As the train jumped off the tracks at a curve, it slammed into a 9-story apartment building. Almost 600 passengers went tumbling and smashing into each other. The screaming was horrible, says this survivor. People were calling for help. I rescued some of the victims, but I couldn't help those trapped inside the cars. The hundreds who were injured are among millions of Japanese who ride trains every day and expect clockwork efficiency. Even subways keep a strict minute-by-minute schedule. If drivers are late getting to a station, they are in trouble with their bosses. Now the Japanese are demanding answers. Why did this happen? Is any train safe? And how did a routine commute to work suddenly turn into searing moments of life and death? Barry Peterson, CBS News, Tokyo.
Iraq's leaders admitted today they still have not come to an agreement on forming a new government, and time is running out. If the interim prime minister does not work out a deal by May 7th, he loses his job and the whole process starts over. Also today, another American soldier was killed as 3 roadside bombs went off in Baghdad. We see all these statistics about how much the war is costing in human lives and resources, but sometimes pictures tell us more than words and numbers ever could. To underline why the dollar cost is running so high, this story tonight from David Martin.
Row upon row of armored vehicles, trucks, and Humvees wait outside Army repair shops, just part of the flood of worn-out and battle-damaged equipment coming back from the war in Iraq. This one building at Anniston Army Depot in Alabama covers 5 acres.
And this is only one of 5 Army repair depots in the U.S., which over the past 2 years have doubled their workforce and in many cases are operating 24/7 in order to keep up with the demands of the war.
From the time that 30-ton turret comes off, it will take 2 to 3 months to overhaul just one tank. It's a part of the war you don't see much of, but to Jack Klein, who oversees production here, it's an undertaking of staggering proportions.
You know how much you're spending here?
This year we're going to execute in excess of $1 billion, and that's a new environment for us.
In excess of
It's
$1
hard
billion?
to say $1 billion. We're used to talking in relationship to millions of dollars. Now we've reached the $1 billion mark.
And that's just at Anniston. Overall, the Army expects to spend more than $7 billion this year to repair and replace equipment like the Bradley fighting vehicle, which is being ground down by harsh desert conditions and the nonstop pace of operations.
The Bradley may be built for combat, but not for all the miles it's piling up in Iraq. It's being driven at 6 times the normal rate and is just plain wearing out, particularly the rubber treads on its tracks.
Those treads are being replaced at the Red River Army Depot in Texas, one link at a time. By the end of this year, all 5 repair depots will be operating at full capacity. Think about that. The world's most powerful military pushed to the limit by several thousand insurgents whose most powerful weapons are mortars and rocket-propelled grenades. And think about this. If the war were to end tomorrow, it would take these depots another 2 years at full capacity to restore all the equipment chewed up in Iraq. David Martin, CBS News, Anniston, Alabama.
Next, illegal immigration. It used to be a hot political issue only in the border states, but not anymore. We'll give you the inside story. But first, CBS News honors fallen heroes. David Mitz. He loved fishing, duck hunting, and four-wheeling. He married his high school sweetheart. In his last call, he said he was looking forward to being home for the birth of their first child. The next day, he was killed in an ambush. 2 months later, Landon was born, named after actor Michael Landon, who shared Mitz's love of family and the outdoors.
If golden fried is your favorite, but scampi is your favorite, then again shrimp pasta is your all-time favorite, you'll be happy Red Lobster's 30 Shrimp is back. Choose your 2 favorites for just $11.99, only at Red Lobster.
Share the love. Pass the Splenda. Spread the sweetness.
Splenda's the no-calorie sweetener made from sugar, so it tastes like sugar. Almost anywhere you use sugar, you can use Splenda. You can even cook and bake with it. So don't be surprised when a neighbor pops by to borrow a cup of Splenda.
This is an amazing age. We learn something new every day.
You're living in the age of Fosamax, when it's actually possible to help reverse bone loss and strengthen bone. Fosamax Once Weekly is a hormone-free tablet for postmenopausal women at risk for or with osteoporosis. Fosamax is clinically proven to help reverse bone loss. Increases in bone mass were seen as early as 3 months. You should not use Fosamax if you have certain disorders of the esophagus, are unable to stand or sit upright for 30 minutes, have severe kidney disease, or low blood calcium. Before use, talk to your doctor if you have stomach or digestive problems. Stop taking Fosamax and call your doctor right away if you develop new or worsening heartburn, difficult or painful swallowing, or chest pain, because these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
1 pill a week can help reverse bone loss.
Ask your doctor if Fosamax is right for you. This is the age of Fosamax.
This is an amazing age.
Helping reverse bone loss.
It's hard for people with diabetes to lose weight. My advice, exercise and try Glucerna weight loss shakes made for people with diabetes. Clinically shown to help manage blood glucose while helping you lose weight. Delicious Glucerna weight loss shakes.
When something really fits, you can feel it. Like the fit you get with C-Bond denture adhesive.
It's the only wafer that has a gasket effect that locks dentures in place, gives you all-over coverage, all-over hold. No mess, no ooze.
When your dentures really fit, you can feel it.
The denture adhesive with the gasket fit, C-Bond. And give toothpaste and tablets the brush off. New C-Bond Brightening Gel Cleanser does the job of both.
Protesters gathered near the White House today demanding that President Bush crack down on illegal immigrants. Demonstrators call for tightening U.S. borders and targeting employers who hire illegals. There used to be an issue limited to Americans in border states, but no more. And that worries civil rights advocates, among others. Jim Acosta now with the inside story.
Right here. Every morning on the side of the road, there they are. Dozens of day laborers, most of them illegal immigrants, standing in broad daylight waiting for work. Not in Southern California, but in what some are calling Georgiafornia.
Here in Georgia, which we were once known for magnolias and our southern accents, now English is an optional language.
Immigration critic D.A. King says Georgia is overrun with undocumented workers who have left California in a sort of reverse gold rush to the south. In some states, the Hispanic population has tripled, even quadrupled in the last decade.
And right here, you pay 8, 9, 10.
The money is better in Georgia than in California?
Standing in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America, and I'm looking at probably 60 or 70 people who are citizens of another country who have come into my country illegally.
For some of these newcomers, day labor has become hazardous work. Racial violence has cropped up in some communities, putting a new face on an old problem in the South. Domingo Lopez is a legal immigrant who became a victim in a rash of attacks on North Georgia day laborers. 4 high school students posing as contractors picked him up at this grocery store and drove him out to this wooded area, where one teenager beat him unconscious with a log. He thought he was going to die.
And this is happening all around the Southeast. And
Mark Potok with the Southern Poverty Law Center says the extraordinary migration of Hispanics into the region has created a new civil rights issue.
This is clearly the largest influx of non-whites into the American Southeast, into the Deep South, really since the slave traders were bringing in Africans. I think that if we were looking at Irish Catholics coming into this country right now, there would be none of this.
So they're here to stay?
I cannot accept that they're here to stay, no.
D.A. King's organization, the American Resistance, has found plenty of popular support, waging protests from outside Georgia's Capitol building to the White House to confront, as he puts it, the powers that would destroy our republic.
I am resisting our country being colonized by people here illegally from wherever they come.
There's a new front in the battle over immigration, and it's hundreds of miles from the nearest Mexican border. Jim Acosta, CBS News, Canton, Georgia.
And coming up next, if you've had your fill of health experts who can't agree on how bad obesity is for you, we'll tell you what the food industry is saying.
Come on, come back.
Sometimes all the right moves can't give high cholesterol the slip. If you're at risk and diet and exercise aren't enough, adding Lipitor can help lower your bad cholesterol 39 to 60%. And Lipitor has proven benefits for your heart. Lipitor is not for everyone, including people with liver problems and women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. Tell your doctor about other medications you are taking or if you experience muscle pain or weakness, as they may be a sign of a serious side effect. So take the next step. Ask your doctor about the benefits of Lipitor.
Why is Ortho season-long grass and weed killer better than the leading brand? Because it doesn't just kill existing weeds, it prevents new weeds from growing all season long. So you don't spend the entire season killing weeds. Ortho season-long.
In this crazy world, it's nice to know there's someone you can always count on.
This is a great day.
Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
My doctor said I needed fiber, but Metamucil is thick and gritty. My doctor said I should take Benefiber. Benefiber has just as much fiber and never gets thick or gritty. Ask your doctor about Benefiber. For me, the choice is clear.
For a kitchen so clean it sparkles, use new Formula 409. 409's deep cleansing formula strips away impurities for a brilliant clean. Let your kitchen shine with Formula 409.
We know how much your family means and how important it is to find the right vehicle with the features, price, and selection you need. That's our commitment to you. And that's why Ford sells more vehicles in Florida than anyone. Looking for an SUV designed with you in mind? Expedition. Versatile, roomy, and surprisingly agile. We are your South Florida Ford dealers. Come see us for a low $379 a month lease on the best-selling full-size SUV in Florida. Just $379 on Ford Expedition.
General Motors, the world's largest automaker, announced a huge recall today. More than 2 million vehicles, most about 1.5 million, are SUVs and pickups, model years 2003 through 2005. GM says there could be a problem with the seat belts. You can get more details of the GM recall on our website, cbsnews.com. It may take more than a website for consumers to make heads or tails of the latest studies on obesity. In recent days, government studies have dialed back on the danger of being overweight, and the food industry has taken notice. We have more on that tonight from Jim Axelrod.